National Government and ABG at loggerheads. Corrupt practices costing PNG 3 billion Kina. Farmers in remote Jiwaka desire a market for their crops. Welcome, this is Tuesday's News. I'm Kilawani. The autonomous Bougainville government and the PNG government are at loggerheads on the roadmap to independence. The ABG want independence in 2025 as the proposed date, but the Prime Minister James Marape says the process must not be rushed. These statements were made during the second joint consultation of the Bougainville referendum at the Enga Teachers College in WABAG as part of the joint supervisory board meeting.
During his opening speech of the second joint consultations of the Bougainville referendum in WABAG Enga province, the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, James Marape, said that the timeline proposed by the autonomous Bougainville government in Kokopo for independence in 2025 was a rushed move.
I said in Kokopo that this process must not be rushed, simply on the basis that the future of our nation is at stake. And let me say this with the greatest element of respect to our friends from Bougainville. Our national unity is at stake. This sets a precedent for our country. We're moving into uncharted waters. There was no forerunner before us, or no forerunners before us who were able to handle this sort of issues. This is the first in our country in respect to unbundling the unity we've had in our country. And so with that and greatest respect to our Bougainvilleans, the process must not be rushed.
The Prime Minister said he understood the urgency of the matter, but his priority was leading a national consultation team for long-term political settlement.
I want to put up front that our people throughout the rest of our country who will be affected by this outcome must also be given an opportunity to be informed, consulted, and they understand fully the consequence that this body of leaders will meet and is meeting and setting forth the agendas going forward into the future.
President of Bougainville, Ismail Torama, said that they have set a compromise date of 2027.
We proposed a compromise date of no later than 2027. The date 2027 is the line-up with the statement in Kokopo. If this compromise proposal is rejected, Bougainville will revert back to 2025 as stated in Kokopo. I request that the two of us take leadership control of this agenda and give clear instructions to the technocrats. Honorable Prime Minister, I note
Torama said the immediate task ahead was the ratification of consultation outcomes through a jointly agreed and owned ratification process.
According to the Bougainville Peace Agreement, it is the outcome of the consultation that gets ratified by the PNG Parliament. Parliament is not at liberty to ratify anything else outside of the consultation outcomes.
Torama further stated that ABG is ready to support the PNG government in conducting awareness across the country.
Bougainville stands ready to assist PNG in conducting awareness throughout PNG in order to put the rest at any uncertainties there may be in PNG.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News, WABAG.
After the joint supervisory body meetings, the two governments of Papua New Guinea and the autonomous Bougainville government agreed to a roadmap towards independence. The joint media statement was read by UNDP resident representative Mr. Dirk Wegner.
We agree to, first, continue to consult and develop clarity on establishing the constitutional and parliamentary pathway for the tabling of the results of the referendum the outcome of the consultation to give effect to the results of the referendum and the outcome of the consultations, and the pathway consequential to the outcome of the National Parliament's decision. Second, take all actions necessary to process an endpoint, which is the culmination of all the activities that flows from the constitutional amendments, give effect to the National Parliament's decision. Third, take immediate actions which are focused on the full implementation of the Bougainville Peace Agreement, subject to the national constitution, with a focus on completing outstanding tasks under the pillars of the Bougainville Peace Agreement, including the implementation of the SHARP Agreement to support the economic growth of Bougainville, to ensure that Bougainville is in a position to effectively and efficiently manage its own economic affairs in preparation for a political settlement.
Don Pompolier was sworn in as KUNDIAWA District Development Authority Chairman yesterday at the Ipatas building in WABAG town in Engam. Pollier, who is a member for KUNDIAWA, told members of the DDA to practice virtues of trust, honesty and peace.
The KUNDIAWA District Development Authority yesterday was sworn in at the provincial government headquarters, the Ipatas building.
Today you are going to hold the Bible and you are going to swear to God and the people of Papua New Guinea and the people of Engam province that you are going to, and the people of KUNDIAWA, you are going to serve them, like I said, without ill will, fear and favor.
Senior Provincial Magistrate Lona Sani told the members of the DDA, which included Chairman Member of KUNDIAWA, Don Pompolier, that the people needed quality service delivery.
Do it without corruption, malpractice, irregularities. Follow the rules, the regulations, you will be right. And we want quality service delivery to our people. And and also you are doing it for God.
KUNDIAWA DDA Chairman Pollier told his DDA members to keep the core values of love, peace and forgiveness, among other virtues.
Happiness and peace must have walked at a time. Money, cash flow, country, and the pocket blue must have walked at a time. We call him permanent prosperity. But this is the name, and you this is the thing you place on the table. In on Don Pompolier. So you sit down and you think what's the mean Don Pompolier team, you sit down, and you can't get number, you must answer. You should not name and love, happiness, peace, forgiveness, confession, and a permanent prosperity team, and you must sit down on the table.
Pollier also urged the DDA members to change their ways by learning from their mistakes in the past years.
But you mean man, you mean choosing hatred or negativity. Me let's not choose him hatred and negativity. You look at hatred and negativity and me destroying you me. Money you mean you can't, power you mean you can't no politics, but everyone been saving this little province or any other provinces. So we must change some technique from our past experiences. We will change it.
Fidelis Sukina, National MTV News, WABAG.
A new bishop has been appointed for the KUNDIAWA Catholic Diocese in Simbu. A 3-hour consecration of Bishop Paul Sundu was held over the weekend, witnessed by hundreds, including 10 other bishops and Cardinal Sir John Ribat. The procession began with a liturgy program, with the main program conducted by Archbishop of Mount Hagen, Douglas Young.
It was by far the biggest celebration of the year hosted by the Catholic faithfuls in Simbu. The consecration of Father Paul Sundu was attended by hundreds, joined by top church officials, including Cardinal Sir John Ribat and bishops from various dioceses in the country. Bishop Sundu's ordination was a culmination of spiritual procedures, ending with a church service led by Mount Hagen Archbishop Douglas Young. The church spoke of more collaboration between the people and government.
Welcome time all, strong Catholic Church, nam bringing dolong narakla all yari kambie. Welcome na walk strong one time all people below you. All is ship, you watch man domol, na you was man long older na something start from this place.
Bishop Paul Sundu hails from Womatne in the KUNDIAWA Gambok district. He is the second local bishop and fourth in KUNDIAWA and was ordained a priest in 2006. The 48-year-old is believed to be the youngest bishop in the country. He reiterated his commitment to the church and people of Simbu.
Okay, the government, by upholding within 2050 partnership, he come up, now this within he been start. Also na CEOs now he got Bishop Longan, me no can start also employee you no got me like start also partner blong you.
Jiwaka Power Junior National EMTV News.
A former prime minister says the fundamentals of development in the country has eroded. Governor for Western Highlands Pius Winti says Papua New Guinea loses nearly $3 billion a year to corrupt practices in the government system. Speaking at the consecration of the new KUNDIAWA bishop, the governor said people must now evaluate their mandated leaders as they have deviated from their roles as policymakers to moneylenders to gain political support.
Not a leader. A leader is a teacher.
Speaking in KUNDIAWA over the weekend, the former Prime Minister gave a stirring speech critically questioning the role of politicians and the output of service delivery. He believes the focus of leaders has derailed. Winti said people power remains steadfast and must be critical about leadership decisions.
You and me have to ask. You Papua New Guineans and me have to ask those questions. Where is the resource money? That's why role block government is very important. The role of a politician. What is the role of a politician? He's a lawmaker, making law on parliament. He's a policy maker. Man is a dreamer. It's no other things, only those two things.
The Western Highlands governor spoke highly of corrupt practices in the public service mechanism. The senior politician said Papua New Guinea is now at the crossroad after 45 years of independence. He wants to see drastic measures taken to bolster economic drive and better service reaching the mass population.
Leadership is painful, but honest and hard things you must tell your people what is right and what is wrong. That's the only way you can change in country, please. Thank you, all that and talk to me. Now, you didn't expect me to talk like this in church, but I'm talking a bit of politics, but straight talk. Thank you very much.
Speaking at this Catholic gathering, he echoed the vital coordination between the church, government and private sector. He says churches have remained a significant partner of development. Governor Winti said working together will improve service delivery. However, corruption must be weeded out for prosperity.
I mean, the 3 months of money. I mean, the 3 months of the cargo. I mean, 3 months of how a country belonging by go. Money is only a tool. Money is put in the public service to implement government policy. Not money belonging, long only lo bag, now giving all man marry, now giving actors and money belonging.
Jiwaka Power Junior National EMTV News.
National Pandemic Controller David Manning says COVID-19 testing will be scaled back to allow the government's pandemic response to focus on vaccination rollout. Controller Manning said the arrival of the vaccines has allowed the pandemic response team to make that transition and not focus only on testing. He said similar strategies will apply to the prevention of TB, malaria, and HIV. Manning said authorities will continue to implement containment strategies to further bolster the availability of a number of vaccines. Meanwhile, a concern at this point is the new variants of COVID-19 that exists in the region. Among stories after the break, Prime Minister James Marape's proposal to build proper housing for citizens and rural farmers wish to bring their produce to outside markets. Stay with us for the details. Welcome back to the news. Prime Minister James Marape says dialogues on building proper housings for those already working have commenced. The Marape-led government is in talks with Bank South Pacific on its housing scheme of 4% interest for up to 40 years. Marape further explained that his government is looking at making land available for public servants or those in the private sector to start building their own homes. The PM made these remarks to employees of Puma Energy during the commemoration of Puma's 14 million hours of work safety last Wednesday.
I don't think many countries will beat that lending portfolio we have in our partnership with BSP. 4%, 40-year period. You possibly, if you don't live through that 40 years, the same lending can be passed on to your next of kin, and he or she will carry on that space with a proper house secured for the family. So I just ask all our Papuans who are working, private sector employees like yourselves here at Puma, or the young fellow that I talked to at Lihir, or those in the public service. Our lands minister is at the moment trying to unbundle all land that is not developed as yet. And for those who have not fulfilled their contract to develop land, we will unbundle those land that is not yet given out. We are trying to mobilize all of them to unbundle for first-time homeownership scheme for Papua New Guineans who are working right throughout our country. So I just thought for our employees here at Puma, you will be here in your country forever. Don't think about renting someone else's house. You might as well pay off your own house through a lending program. Is that okay?
Young Dorcas Kilalema is ahead of her time. At just 5 years old, and she has experienced what it's like to be an engineer with ExxonMobil. Dorcas visited the plant site and operations control room dressed in the full personal protective equipment. Guided by her two role models, she had a feel of using a two-way radio, looked at valves, compressors, pipelines. Dorcas' visit is part of the Book Belong Pikinini's early childhood education program that provides children with foundation numeracy problem-solving activities. Book Belong Pikinini has published a series of books titled When I Grow Up. For Dorcas, a similar book will be published with the title When I Grow Up, I Will Be an Engineer. Farmers in the Kairukuhiri district in Central Province who engage themselves in producing ego rice have raised concerns on the lack of support from the government. They want the responsible authorities to provide them with proper machines to enable them to supply rice.
Despite agriculture being one of the major pillars for the central provincial government, locals, including farmers, continue to face logistic and transport problems to bring their fresh produce and market goods to Port Moresby. For farmers involved in agricultural activities, this is one of the many concerns raised. Mary Apa, the chairlady for women in agriculture in Kairuku, is also a farmer in North Meke of Kairuku-Iri district in Central Province who produces ego rice, locally grown organic rice that supplies the people of Kairuku. She says apart from the poor road conditions to transport the rice to the markets, they still lack support from responsible authorities.
We small farmers or small cooperatives, we can grow, we can do packaging. All they have to do is support us with the right machineries. They have to help us in order to meet the demand that they want to go into commercial farming.
The ego rice farmed and yield in the rainforest of North Makeo is one of the many agricultural activities in the province. With less support coming from the provincial government, the farmers manually mill and package the rice. Though they are capable of producing, they are not commercialized because there are no proper infrastructures for production and marketing.
We are just asking the government, the local MPs and the governor to help us, give us a proper packaging. Maybe they can give us a proper packaging machine so we can properly mill our rice and package it and have a proper plastic, being labeled and all that.
The Central Province Holdings Limited is now tapping in to assist such agro-farming activities through its subsidiary program called the Aniani Corporation. A member of the board speaking during the recent development forum hosted by the UPNG Central students expressed the need for locals to collaborate with CPHL to venture into commercial marketing.
It's an entity that's designed to absorb resources and channel it in the best way possible to look at the best type of returns. And it's an avenue designed so that people that genuinely want to contribute in the commercial space in our province, you can partner with us in exploring those opportunities.
Suli National MTV News.
Giliay in East Kambia District, Jiwaka Province, is one of the last frontiers of Papua New Guinea. The land is fertile. The people there grow cocoa, vanilla, coffee and rice with the hope that one day their crops will make it to the markets outside of the district. There is no road access to Kambia, nor is it easily accessible by air. This next story is about faith, determination and courage. MTV's Mount Hagen-based reporter Vasinata Yama flew by chopper to this remotest part of PNG recently.
The chopper ride took us less than 30 minutes from Kagamuga to get to Giliay in East Kambia. It's a relatively short flight, but it took us over the mighty Wagi and Kagul rivers and over rugged mountains before landing at Giliay. The newly built airstrip was packed with men, women and children who for the first time are seeing a helicopter land in their village.
More people move. All you need is service. I'm road link and clear. Oga that is something when you may talk or 3 months you may got him long in. And by come up.
These people lived a nomadic lifestyle. Giliay, where the airstrip is, used to be their hunting ground before 2014. The sick children and pregnant women had to walk a day or two to get to the nearest health center on the other side of the mountains. When there are complications, air transport is the only way out. Life was simple yet tough. Koroki Mian is the officer in charge of Mount Hau Health Center. We met Mian in Giliay. His working involved walking long distances just to immunize children below the age of 5.
Yeah, number. Because we must have health center sites or road number no got so almost stable now almost go some complications or some cervical cancer and some sick inside lo bell mama. Airstrip, M1 play access from Miplalo, Kambia. You got good play strip, we play an access in all services.
Faith-based organization Global Swan, which stands for Serving Where Assistance is Needed, introduced the locals to cocoa, vanilla, coffee and rice. They have always dreamt that one day they will be connected to the outside world through air and road access. This is the first time they'll be able to sell their produce.
We planning 3 years na polo on begin. Now by mixing out them hard na misha brugi na misha ke kau blem troma lokaten.
On average, the people speak more than 5 languages because they share borders with Western Highlands, Southern Highlands, Chimbu and Jiwaka province. Global Swan chartered the first chopper flight on May 2021 into Giliay in East Kambia to launch an 18,000-hectare of coffee project. They have built an 8-post, an elementary school, and an airstrip in East Kambia, which is yet to be certified by CASA. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
Now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina will buy $0.2775 $0.3632 Australian dollars, $0.2257 euro and 30.16 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee and cocoa closed lower, and copper closed higher. Palm oil and copper closed higher, crude oil is trading higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 152.82 points higher. The ASX 200 is trading at 53.20 points lower. The All Ordinaries is trading at 57.6 points lower.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Mount Hagen Eagles have maintained their winning streak to keep their hopes alive for the finals in the Intercity Cup. The Eagles flew over the Engamioks in round 5 to climb up to the 5th position on the ladder. But despite the win, Coach Billy Gao says the team still needs improvement to secure a spot in the top 4.
Towards the left side. That looks good from up here. The referee is having a look. There is a try.
The Mount Hagen Eagles recorded their 3rd win of the season against the Engamioks over the weekend.
He's heading for the line now. He's giving the ball away.
With just 5 rounds remaining before the finals, the Eagles, led by Captain Henry Wan, are in campaign to retain a spot in the top 4.
Show and go, and there is a very easy try to the number 7, Bennett Noel.
In and off the field, we got a young boys, only 4 experience, and Henry is one of them. I'm leading more players good now. Other leadership, I think we're okay. Yeah.
But despite the win, Coach Billy Gao was not impressed with the team's overall performance. He says the club will need to polish up on few ball handling errors and improve on the team's set completion rate before facing the Mandy Muruks this weekend.
Plenty of drop balls and handling errors. When we complete plenty of sets of 6 completion rate very poor. So next week we are playing against Muruk, so I'm going to go back. Training, I think we'll work more on the handling errors, our mistakes.
Meanwhile, spectators are edged towards the games at the Oil Sets National Football Stadium under strict COVID-19 measures. Suli, Trukai Sports.
2 of the country's para-athletes have qualified for the Paralympic Games in Tokyo this year, from the 24th August to the 5th of September. Moria Mararos and Nelly Leva will be participating in the javelin throw in the perspective class.
Training continues for the 2 para-athletes who will be representing PNG at the Tokyo Paralympic Games this year. Both Morea Mararos and Nelly Leva have qualified for the Games in Japan, flying the PNG colors as they participate in the field event, the javelin throw. Both athletes have made steady progress in their training. This was evident in the results recorded during the Port Moresby meet of the PNG Air Grand Prix.
Right, so we usually train leading up to the competition. We usually train Monday to Friday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have our gym session at the High Performance Center. And as you can see, Tuesdays, we're having our tech sessions. So we have our tech sessions here every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we have Moria Mararos, seated javelin, so his class is F34, and Nelly Leva, standing javelin, F46. From the competition last weekend, we saw where we are at. It was good to see where we were at. For Nelly, her personal best is 18 meters. So over the weekend, she threw like high 21, which is really good. For Moira himself, too, he's been throwing 15, 16. Over the weekend, he threw like 17 meters. So we've seen some progression since then.
After the conclusion of the Paralympic Games in Tokyo from the 24th of August to the 5th of September, other international and regional events will be on the horizon for the para-athletes.
We've got the just after the Paralympic Games, we've got other events coming up. So the Commonwealth Games is one of them. It's one of the major events for the athletes after the Tokyo Paralympic Games, as well as the Mini Pacific and the Pacific Games.
Huxley Lovai, Trukai Sports.
And the countdown continues. We have 17 days left to the Tokyo Olympics. EMTV will telecast the games beginning with the opening ceremony on the 23rd of this month. Part 1 of the 2021 PNG Air Athletics Grand Prix Series, which concluded in Port Moresby yesterday, saw some encouraging performances from the next generation of representative athletes. Here's Yana Zoriri with a recap of the performances.
Outstanding performances on the track were seen from Dilu Goye of Simbu, who won the 5,000 meter and placed second in the 3,000 meter race. Bougainville athletes based at NSI, Jonathan Dende and Alphonse Igish, both had impressive finishes in the 400-meter, clocking times of 48.74 and 48.92 seconds respectively. East New Britain athlete Adolphe Kauba, who won the 800 meters, settled in third, clocking 49.31 seconds. In the women's division, young Lenia Gillis from West New Britain had a good weekend with a strong showing in all sprinting events, and Edna Boafob took the opportunity to hone her skills in a range of events as she prepares for the heptathlon next year. In the field events, Leah Neal of East New Britain won the women's long jump and high jump. In the men's division, the competition provided an opportunity to developing talents, Kenneth Harrison and Isaac Kambuka, to compete with senior athletes Eldon Twoti, Roka Manau and Robert Hoa. Yana Zoriri, Trukai Sports.
That story wraps up Trukai Sports. The weather report after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Southern region, Port Moresby, mostly fine, partly cloudy tonight. Daru, mostly cloudy tonight, then morning showers. Kerema, mostly fine, partly cloudy. Alotau, mostly cloudy with chances of brief light rain drizzles. Popondetta, mostly fine tonight, and inland morning fog. In the Momase region, Ley, mostly fine, partly cloudy tonight. Medang, Wewak and Vanimo, partly cloudy with overnight showers. New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, mostly fine. Kavieng, mostly cloudy with overnight rain showers. Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka, mostly fine, partly cloudy. And the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, cloudy with chances of showers tonight, then morning fog. Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and WABAG, mostly fine, partly cloudy, then morning fog. Forecast for small crabs for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG, Indonesian border, through Torres Strait to Daru, to Kiwai Islands, to Kiwai, to Kerema, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Samarai Islands, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of Samarai Islands to eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, to Cape Vogel, and with waters of Finchafen through Vitius Dampier Straits to Siasi Long Islands, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters north of Cape Vogel to Huon Gulf to Finchafen, with waters north of Long Island to Medang to Wewak, to Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of New Island to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 0.5 to 1 meter. Ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral seas, seas rough with southeast winds of 20 to 30 knots. Solomon seas, seas slight with east to southeast winds of 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck seas, seas slight with east to southeast winds of 5 to 15 knots. Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with southeast winds of 10 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's the news, sports and weather for Tuesday, 6th of July, 2021. Pleasant viewing, be safe, bye for now.